Welcome to Talking with Kevin Son, where truth meets real. We talk life, love, and purpose.
Welcome to another episode of Talking Wit Kevin and Son. And today, we're going to be learning to stay, navigating college, and persisting with purpose. This show is brought to you by R&K Productions and the 10 United Podcast Network. Our mission, through the power of your story, our mission is to uplift and give you power to your voice, to inspire you, share stories, experiences, and perspectives using the framework of teaching, learning, and modeling. Our purpose is clear, ladies and gentlemen. Hope, HOPE, helping other people every single day. Now, today's conversation is for every parent and every student navigating the process of college and success. So, I am your show host, Kevin McLemore, four-time published author, award-winning author, public speaker, singer, songwriter, and some say mindset messenger. I'll leave that up to you. Now, let's talk about the whole process of getting into college is one thing, but staying in college takes this conversation to a whole nother level. Today, I'm bringing you an expert in this field. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to exaggerate a little bit. He has about 30 degrees. He said six, but I know he's counting a couple others. My good friend Daniel Haupt, HAPT, is an author. He is an educator. He's president of Destiny's Communication Development Corporation. His work is also focused on student success, their discipline, and in creating a pathway from education to the workplace and achievement. Today, we will be focusing on three things, and I may get distracted. The staying power over starting power, the structure of creating success from education to opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome our esteemed guest, Mr. Daniel E. Haupt, PhD. I am so proud to say that when I talk to a young brother, PhD. As a matter of fact, I'm going to say this jokingly. This is the first time I've ever had a doctor show up in any part of my life on time. He was early today for this,
Wow.
ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
Hey, Daniel, in my neighborhood, the way I was raised, Mr. Hop, my parents always said you had to ask permission to address someone by their first name. For the duration of this podcast, do I have your permission to call you Daniel?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're friends. You
All
know,
right.
um, this is a great moment for me to be here with you. I'm Kevin. You are a great visionary, and you have a great idea for us being able to transform the way that we think and approach life differently. So I'm really honored to be here with you today, sir.
Yeah, and I'm honored to have you. As a matter of fact, this is a conversation that I have every homecoming. I go back and I talk to the student body at Central State University. I started out my college education at a PWI, um, and I transferred before the third game of football season to Central State University, which I felt like it was home. But I also know that in talking at some of our historically Black colleges,
Hmm.
the dropout rate is extremely high.
Hmm.
In PWIs, one out of every four students drop out or do not return after their freshman year. In historically Black colleges, three out of four don't return after the first quarter or semester. So your book, when it says about staying, the power of
Hmm.
staying, we're going to talk about that. And I want to ask you, give us a little background on yourself. I know I told you you had 30 degrees, but you're probably
Okay.
going to list six of them. Tell
Uh-huh.
us your story of how you got started, where you grew up, and um, what was college like for you in the beginning?
Well, I want to say that I grew up in Washington, D.C. I'm based here in Denver, but I grew up in the other D.C., Washington, D.C., Southeast, 5 blocks from the U.S. Capitol. And I would have to say that my education, even though I didn't graduate from a HBC, my education really started at Howard University. because what was a tradition in our neighborhood during the graduation at Howard University, our parents, our older siblings would take us to Howard's graduation. And that is where we saw the best of the Black diaspora go and celebrate their Black excellence. And their children were going through a process called getting a degree, and they were there celebrating them. And I worked for an organization called the Mayor's Youth Leadership Institute. I think the original name was the Mary Berry Youth Leadership Institute, and they brought teens from all over the DC area and allowed them to live at Howard University to experience college life. And that's where I got introduced to the culture of what an education could do for you and what college life was. So that was my origin. I completed most of my degrees from PWIs, predominantly white institutions, but my education really got started with that encounter with Howard, and it was a cultural phenomenon that I think caused a lot of us to pursue the dream.
Something, and I'm glad you said that because um, doing this show, one of the things I always say about when we're talking about topics is everyone's worries about um, having uncomfortable conversations.
Hmm.
And my grandfather used to tell me, he says, education wasn't designed to make you comfortable. It was
Hmm.
designed to make you think. And you had said early on in a conversation off camera, when I asked why you attended a PWI versus a historically Black college, your
hmm
answer was what?
Um, why did I attend PWIs? Um, the money flowed there for me. My skin gave me an asset. I brought something to the campus that allowed them to give me the medium. I started my first 2 years at the University of DC. But I left college after my third year because I thought in my young mind, why did I need to take another college degree? Because I got my dream job. But 12 years later, I was back pursuing a degree with a wife and 6 kids on my hip and a job I couldn't quit. But I needed to do this important precept for my life, not just for economic reasons, but for moral reasons. And I found myself doing this in a geographical location that invited me. I was in the Midwest at that time, and my educational opportunities, my funding, was made available in PWIs, which where most of my kids actually went finished their degrees. But I tell you, if I had to do it all over again, HBCU would be my preferred choice because of what it offers our students to be able to finish what they start. Because there are some powerful reasons why people start and they don't finish, and it has to do with the hidden curriculum. It has to do with the power of intellectual equity that you bring as a first generation college student, like I was and my kids were when we started school.
When we talk about first generation, and this is the reason why we're
Hmm.
talking about this, I'm one of
Hmm.
13 children. I
Hmm.
am the first to finish a collegiate degree, an undergraduate degree. I know that I was scared as heck because I didn't know what to expect. You wrote a
hmm
book on outlining learning to stay.
hmm
For parents that do not have maybe a formal education or may have some life experience in education, and you have a child that dreams to be bigger outside of their current environment,
hmm
what conversation do you have to a parent in preparing that child for a world that the parents have never explored? And that's what I'm talking about is a child that has gone through the process and been accepted by a
Yeah.
university, be it PWI or HBCU, that's going off to schools, never left home, never left the neighborhood. What do you tell a parent what this child is going to go through?
Wow. Well, can I talk to you about having the talk? As an African American male, our parents had to have that talk about safety issues, dealing with people in a position of authority in our community. And I think as parents, especially African American children or brown children and children that come from marginally denied communities, you really have to have the talk about college and the safety of it. My parents grew me and my siblings up, or nine of us, with or 11 in that case, because my parents adopted a couple of kids that's our brothers and sisters. The jobs that my parents had in raising us were two jobs they were able to get with two high school diplomas, and it literally allowed us to live as working class or middle class Black people. But those same jobs that my mom and my dad had, my children, my nieces and nephews, they can't get those same jobs unless they literally have a bachelor's or a master's degrees. And that the talk that we have about going to college today, I think it'll be different than the ones that my parents had for me. For my parents, it was about having a dream. The dream of having a college educated son or daughter and what that meant. For me, the conversation had to do with economic security and social security. When I say social security, I'm talking about the security within society. It's a very important conversation that we need to have and understand that we're sending our kids into what will be a foreign land. College education and higher ed wasn't designed for us. 400 years ago, this institution was created for the top 1% of the society. I mean, higher ed got started in America before the colonies got formal, and it was not built for people to finish. It wasn't built for people to start. The people that had the privilege of going to college, it really didn't matter if they stayed because they were privileged. But that's not the case today. Literally, a person with a college degree working in a lifetime will earn at least $1.5 million just going to work more than someone who doesn't have a college education, because this is the way the economy awards, evaluates what we contribute in that system. I don't know if that answered your question, but it's a different type of situation than it was when I went to school.
Now, is this the reason why you wrote the book, Learning to Stay? And
Mhm.
if so, please tell our listeners what this book is all about.
Okay. Well, Learning to Stay um, was a book that was written to help people finish what they started. As I mentioned, I left college because I thought I had my dream job and it ended up not being not a dream, but a detour. And I came back, and I needed to come back because economically, I needed to have the passport into the middle class, the kind of house that I wanted to live in, the kind of car I wanted to drive, what the needs of my kids. It required that I have that basic fundamental. Now, other people are able to get into the middle class economy through their ingenuity, their talents, their creativity. But most of us, that's not the case. The average person, in fact, I was looking at my notes the other day, it's only about 37%. 37% of Americans that have a bachelor's degree. And that's probably reflective of how many of us are in the middle class. I wrote this book to give students a tool, because there are things about doing college, finishing college, that are more caught than they are taught. One of my friends was telling me how when this is a doctor, when her and her mother went to freshman orientation, they went to all the classes, but the one class they didn't go to prepare to go to college was financial aid, not realizing that was going to be the gasoline for her to finish. There are things about college that for first gens coming in, they are calling apples, but they're really pears to us. There are things that causes us not to finish because what the system may be calling an orange is actually a grapefruit to us. And I wrote this book to give the parents, the practitioners, and especially our students the insider secrets of how to finish. I have these 6 degrees because I had to learn the art of how to finish. Even our kids need to learn. Now, one of the things that happened to my son, I was so excited where when I went back to college, by the time I got back to college to finish my degree, two or three of my young adult kids were starting their freshman year. in college. They were still classified as first gens because I had not finished in a regionally accredited collegiate environment my degree, so they were able to get the benefit. And my son, I was so happy seeing him go to class. He was enjoying. I saw him in between sessions. Man, I was like high on the idea. But then my son's grades came in after that first semester, and he had made F's in all of his classes, all of them. And I was like, how? You look so happy going to class. Well, my son discovered that when he went to school, that he had a problem with information processing. And the way learning was going on in that situation, he was not able to persist. He was not able to master learning. And his advisor told him, son, there's some people that are not cut out to go to college. And I said to my son, some people are not cut out to be advisors, because I realized that there were things that were more caught than they were taught. My son went on and finished his bachelor's degree in marketing. He went to Japan, did an internship, and he came back and really learned what his real talent was. And that was working with people. He works for the VA, and there was just somebody, in his case, it happened to be his dad, that really was showing him, son, this is how the formula is going to work for you. You need to realize that people that are come from fourth, fifth, and sixth generation college graduates, they know things about this system to make it work for them, that you need to learn how to make it work for you. And that was a big reason why I did it, because so many of my students in my research were informing me that some of them had 4 rides to college, 4 rides, their books, their living expenses, their tuition, but they still failed college because there was something about the hidden curriculum that prevented them from persisting. And that was the big reason why I was moved to put this book together.
So, me as a parent preparing to send my son or daughter to either a historically black college or PWI, his
Hmm.
publicly white institute,
Hmm.
um, predominantly white institute, um, going over having that conversation from the parents to the kid to the child to say what to expect. Now,
Hmm.
I know listening to your story, the reason
Hmm.
why I left the PWI is because I was one of 8 students on the entire campus that looked like me.
Yeah.
I was one of 3 people that played on the football team that looked like me. Um, but I had never sat the bench before, and the 2 other people that looked like me were sitting on the bench, and I couldn't understand why at least one of us wasn't playing. My
Hmm.
father took me to Central State University, and I felt like home. The
Hmm.
other thing that I realized that going to a historically black college, when you're understanding how to deal with your own culture,
Hmm.
is um, at one point in my collegiate career, I was a straight D student. If it had not been for Lucinda Adams, Miss Sampson, and other educators on that campus, I'd have got kicked out of any other school. But they
Hmm.
realized that I was mourning the loss of my uncle,
Hmm.
and I was
Hmm.
protected. I had conversations with professors that I probably wouldn't have had at a PWI.
Hmm.
So knowing your child going in and
Hmm.
knowing who your child is going to become, how do you speak to that child and preparing him for the first day that he's ever been or she has ever been 100% on their own and responsible for getting up, brushing their teeth, getting to
Hmm.
college, dressing themselves, whatever, or having people that are different from you, that comes from different environments? Because I was shaking because I had a rich roommate and I was a poor kid. So I didn't know. How do you have that conversation?
Well, well, I think it's phenomenal that sitcom, it's a different world. Most of the actors that was on a different world, they didn't have a college education, but they are singularly responsible for millions of African Americans going to college, trying to find Hillman. Hillman was a real school, but the culture and the value that was there. Your young person has to understand that one size doesn't fit all, and you really that kid is going to have to figure out who those formulas, who those are. I will tell my young person to the most important thing you need to get before going to college is discover your why. If you're the less clear your why is, the less immunization that you have from all the systems that are designed to purge you. As I mentioned, higher ed wasn't designed to retain; it was designed to get rid of anyone they felt didn't fit into their model. And so when your young person comes, they really need to be armed with some insight about their why for being there. For me, when I was a young person in college, if you sneezed a major at me, I caught it. You
Mm.
talked about my 31 degrees because if somebody sneezed a degree at me, I caught it because I wasn't that clear about who I was and what I wanted to be. I think starting a young person with that, one of the things that I do with all of my students that I come in contact with, I help them to self-discover what they are wired for, what they're made for. My young people, my children, I don't send them to college like my parents did to get a job. I send them to go get an asset to build a box that they can live their dreams out of. Many people go to college to get that degree to get a box to work in, but that's not a really good idea for college today because organizations, companies, they're not looking for employees. They're looking for business partners, people that have an asset, they can do business with them, be in business for themselves, and beginning to establish in your young person's heart and mind your why for being there. It is going to get an asset to manifest your purpose, your big why. I think it's one of the big things that would keep a young person in. I in my process for doing my research, I had to learn how to do the interviews of the people that I was going to be researching. So I interviewed two I want to say young women, and they were from the same family line, and they were gosh maybe 50 years in difference in age, but both of them had a very clear understanding as a first gen going to college, why I was there. And whatever obstacle, when I interviewed these two people, not even knowing that they were, these family members were being interviewed, they all communicated that any obstacle that came their way that was to pull them away from their college intentions came to die because they had such a dynamic sense of why they were there. When you understand what your why is, you'll begin to, God will show you how. Because there are all kinds of things to come up. So I would say to them, we're going to determine your why for doing this. Now, my why may have evolved and changed as I grew as a person, but you got to have a why that's big enough to manage any difficulties that you're coming into. Right now, we are having a social society crises. We are dealing with genocide issues within our culture, and our young people need to understand that you need to get whatever assets. Now, everybody is not going to go to college. But those that are going, you need to understand your why there because one of the tremendous challenges is people going to college and not finished. The level of debt, the level of social loss, the loss of on solutions that are really not being created because you're not getting the asset of the science of a college education is very detrimental to our society. So we need to help everybody finish that assignment. I think for a young person, there are some fundamental skills that they need to learn after learning their why. They need to learn how they learn because how you learn, how I learn is different. And when you begin to learn that, then you can begin to adapt and manage the context. Your teacher is teaching, those teachers in those classrooms, they're teaching from assumptions and they're teaching from the way that they learn. But if you learn by audible, you learn from listening, you learn from seeing, you learn from hands-on kinesthetic. When you learn that about you, you can manage the journey of finishing what you start, and you will do it because you have a big why.
Right. How do you get I know people, matter of fact, 24 hours ago, I was talking to a 50-year-old person that still hasn't discovered their why. And
Hmm.
I had this conversation ongoing. I said
Hmm.
that every significant point in your life,
Hmm.
your why gets redefined. Depends
Hmm.
on the events that you're living with. But
Hmm.
when you're speaking with a child, a young adult, because most
Hmm.
16 and 17-year-olds think they're
Hmm.
adults by the time, but in reality, when they have to face the world, they realize that they're a
Hmm.
child trying to enter a world that is not accepting them with open arms. Fear is one of those big things that people
Hmm.
do not finish anything in life.
Hmm.
So when it comes to getting a degree, how do you overcome or even create that conversation of the obstacles that are going to scare the living life out of them?
Hmm. So So I have a framework. I wrote a book called Shape for Destiny. And I'm telling you, if you have questions about how to go to college, finish college, get my book, Learning to Stay. If you are a practitioner in a HBCU or you are a person that helps students that are first gens, African American, bro, and you want to help them persist, get a copy of my book. And if you can't afford it, I have a group of friends that are helping me put 100 of these books in the hands of practitioners that you just don't have the budget to do it. You can reach out. You can email me at Dr. Haupt at Destiny Community Center .org, and you can get a copy of this book if if you reach out to me. I have 1,000 books that have been given to me to give to first generation college students. They can reach out to me to get some of the strategies that you go about discovering. But discovering your why, I think there are flags around it. I ask people to take a moment and help let your parents, let you and people around you help kind of identify how you're shaped. Because I think we get ideas from early on, about what our why is, even if we don't have words to describe it. So I use a framework called SHAPE, SHAPE. I'm not the originator, but the tool I use it. I use scientific tools. I use prophetic tools to help people discover why they were. But if you look at what your special endowment is, the things that you do, um, like that's like God, like people say, wow, how in the world did you do that? Like Aretha Franklin, she never took a piano lesson. She didn't take a music class, but that gift she had, that's not something she learned from going to college. She learned that because it was put inside of her. There's an endowment. In my case, my primary mission in life is to be a voice of destiny, and so I voice activate people through what I say. And so very early on, there were positive signs and negative signs of my ability to be a voice. I switched multiple majors, but if I had to do it all over again, my degrees would have only been in education and only in communications. I have a degree in organizational behavior because I have an MBA in business. But if I had to do it all over again, getting in contact with my why, my power of being who I am comes from my ability to be a voice. I think there are signs. When I was coming up, I can't tell you how many times I got slapped in the head because I was talking too much. I was saying things because it was an energy in me to speak and to talk. I think all of us have some kind of some signs if we look through how we're shaped, our special abilities, if we recognize what our passions are, if we're driven towards young people, elderly people, or people coming out of prison, or people discovering themselves, if we recognize what our agilities are, what are skill sets that we have that we built over the years that help us to complement what our weaknesses are. My strength is talking, so my weakness is often listening. So I had to learn agilities and skills to compensate for that. And then what is my personality? My wife is an extreme introvert. But I'm an extreme extrovert. But our energies are drawn to each other. There are signs out there about your why that you can take a look at if you slow down. And when you get the data of these things, you'll begin to get a get clue. And I say clues because you don't need to have a perfect knowledge of what your why is to get a really good degree. You just need a good idea because your undergraduate degree. Like I told my kids, it doesn't have to be a perfect decision. You just need to have a good degree that allows you to pivot as you get more understanding about what you are. But looking at your shape, your special endowments, your heartbeats, your abilities, your personality wiring, your experiences. If you find that you find yourself constantly in a position where you're helping people that are in trouble, or you find yourself constantly working with money and being successful at making money, if you find yourself that you are creative, culinary wise, that you can be again to help people shift their moods, change their health. This is something that you do natural. These are things that point to your why. If you have a 20% knowledge of your why, I can kind of guide you to getting the best degree for you because the first 2 years is a basic education. The last 2 years are you getting a specialty. But when you move from that point of view, don't feel like you have to be perfect in this. You just need a really good degree and you need to have a really good reason why you have it because that's going to give you the power to finish. I don't know if that answered your question or not,
No, it
but
answered my question. And my thing is, I'm thinking like an 18-year-old child wanting to
mhm,
go to college, but
mhm,
everyone's asking me the question, what are you going to major in? What are you going to study? I have no
mhm,
idea what's available to me. Now I'm listening to
mhm.
you and you're telling me to go out and get a really good degree. What does that really good degree? Do I
Hmm.
study being a salesman, so I graduate with the
Hmm.
same degree I
Hmm.
in the same job I would have had if I had worked 3 years,
Hmm.
or I'm not smart enough like you, Dr. Haupt,
Hmm. Hmm.
in order to be a doctor because I'm afraid of science and math, you
Hmm.
know, or
hmm hmm
I can articulate every single thing that I want to talk about. I'm a great public speaker, but I can't write 3 words on a paper without having a comma or something out of place. I'm never going to be a lawyer.
hmm
Uh, how would you have the conversation to this kid at 18? You're being a futurist. What should I
hmm
study in school?
Mhm. So, when you go to college, I go back to say you don't need a perfect degree because probably most of the degrees that modern students are studying, they're preparing for jobs that don't even exist right now. And so, if you use that to your advantage, if you aren't a good writer, what are you good at? In my case, I have 10 books that I've authored and published under my belt, but I am horrible at grammar. I'm horrible at grammar, but I use science and technologies. A good degree is a degree that will help you learn the basic art of problem solving for your particular field that you're in. If you and you should use that as your strategy. I pursue degrees to fix my weaknesses. Don't get a degree to fix your weaknesses. Get a degree that's going to celebrate your strengths. Because when you move in your vocation or you're calling from a place of strength, it will address your weaknesses. You can hire somebody to do the things that you're weak at. So I say a good degree is one that's going to give you a basic, solid education, but also allows you to tap in and to celebrate what your actual strengths are. In my case, because I am a wordsmith, I am a thought life, a futuristic person, which you called out one of my gifts. I begin to position myself in a way that that's what I do. Anything that I commit myself in terms of education, it has to go back to that. I can choose a degree. I remember being halfway through my MBA program, and I was telling them, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be a jack of all trades. That's what an MBA, a person that has an MBA, that's what they're learning to do. I said, I don't want to be no paper pusher. And they said, that's great, Mr. Hart. You don't have to finish the degree, but we can't give you your money back from the first 2 years. And so, what are you going to do? They were really innovative. They took and put me into the office and they reinvented my MBA so that it played to my strength. So, my MBA really isn't just about business, it's really about corporate communications, finding what works for you, finding a degree that celebrates you, that taps into your why, that gives you the energy to pursue your ideas. So, what are you going to do? What is it that you, as an 18-year-old, love to do for play? Remember, your undergraduate degree doesn't need to be a perfect degree. It needs to serve you the power to pivot when you find a new direction. Because almost most of us, most of us are actually pursuing careers and fields and assignments that do not even exist right now. Keep that in mind. We are in a futuristic age, and pretty much the technology is creating opportunities for us to do the impossible. I'm telling you, when I grew up, there used to be people on TV and they will be talking in something that was like in their hands, and they would say, Scotty, beam me up. And then they would go to this box and say, replicator, give me this. Well, those were things that was a figment of our imaginations, but they're real world now. That's what we do with a cell phone right now. That's what we literally do. We go to a screen and we say, send me some Domino's pizza. We're literally doing that today. I go back to your undergraduate degree. It should not serve you to build a box for you to work in. You want to get an educational asset that's going to allow you to build the dream and the world that you want, to manifest yourself. That's the most important thing. But a young person, be creative, make it up. I take young people through a process of building a career business model. A business model is a psychology um, from which that you use to create value. It's the reason why Facebook doesn't charge us when we go on to Facebook. Because really, their primary customer, they don't charge them anything because what they do with that customer allows them to go and make billions, billions of dollars because of the data that you collect from giving people a free space to go and socially engage. You don't need to be perfect in your choice. You need to just make a really good degree. A good academic advisor can help you with getting a degree that will give you a good, solid education to read, write, and communicate. But also they will help you to pursue an avenue of learning that's about expressing the art of who you are. The art of who you are. I got to tell you, the most important parts of me is the broken parts of me. It's a part of me that makes the wine called Daniel really works. You don't have to worry about doing it perfectly. You just got to have a good degree, but you do need to tap into your why in the pursuit of it.
All right, and I'm glad you said that because I say this all the time that 75% of every collegiate graduate does not ever work one day in the field of
Yes.
their
Yeah.
assigned degree. The
Yeah.
25% that makes universities great that we talk about, the reason why we tailgate, we come back to university is people such as yourself that go out and figure out a way in order to make the degree work for them. They go out and
Mhm.
create it. And we're in a
Yeah.
whole new world of technology right
Mhm.
now where we're actually starting over. If I had known that
Mhm.
coding
Yeah.
was going to be so profitable and whatever, I'd have stopped
Mhm.
teasing the kids that were on the computer nerds and started attending some of those classes. And
Mhm.
so,
Mhm.
we're not going to get rid of AI, but we need to figure out a way to make AI valuable to us. Now, the question I want to ask you, this is personal. I'm going to share a little story to you, and
Mhm.
because men fall out of higher learning institutions a lot faster than women.
Mhm.
Women finish faster. Men are very emotional creatures, and they look at the fact that I didn't finish the degree at whatever university that they had entered simply because of reason. And a lot of times is I need to make money. I had a tragedy at home. I had to take care of. My car broke down. I didn't qualify. I got cut from the football team or basketball team, or it's a lot. And we just basically walk away and
Mhm.
say that, I didn't finish my degree. I wish I had of. I wish I could have. Now I've got a family and whatever. And those stories are far few between of those that come back and overcome that objective and get the degree. There is a value of having
Mhm.
a higher education. And the
Mhm.
higher education is a mindset, the same way
Mhm.
you said that you're a
Yeah, it is.
wordsmith.
It
When
is.
you have a young man, I'm going to paint you a picture, and I want you to have a conversation with this young man. He sought out to get a 4-year degree. He's the first of the children in his family. He comes from a high risk neighborhood. Because of his athletic ability, he was not allowed to graduate with his class because the one class he needed was only offered one time a year. And because of his sports season, did not allow him to participate because his
Mhm.
education was pretty much set around him being able to participate in sports. So emotionally, he sees his friends graduate and move on and start life for himself. He's back in fifth year saying, and he's thinking, and this is what Black men do,
Mhm.
thinking that I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, why am I here, and whatever. And then all of a sudden, the closest person that's in his life is tragically removed from his life, and a story that we don't want to tell on air today.
Mhm.
But he sat for a whole quarter or a semester in his class and he should have been kicked out academically. And he's trying to figure out what's the next step. And he's sitting in front of you right now and saying, I'm going to get a full-time job and I'm going to move on and I may come back to school and I may not, but I need to make some money because I can't afford it. What do you say to this young man?
Well, learning to stay is one of the reasons why I wrote this book because um you know most people don't fail college. College fails them. When I'm working with colleagues and I talk to them about what do we do when we're having that conversation about young men like that, people not starting, I always ask them, who do you think is the problem? Who do you think is the reason why somebody's not failing. That young man's story you just told me, the failure really wasn't his. It was the system that was supposed to surround him with the ability to finish what he started that failed him. That it was the system. Your academic advisor is a superpower for you to use. If you had connected with the resources of the student development team, their job is to develop the science and the art to help you to get that done, given who you are. College is cannot treat like one size all. I'm gonna tell you what actually works for a second, third, fourth, fifth generation students typically doesn't work for first gens. But all the formulas for college persistence that works for first generation college students literally works for everybody. And that young man, I would tell him, hey, the first thing you would do, you should find me. Come find your space in my office. Find an advisor, the chair of your department, and ask them, can they work with you in solving a solution for your problem? Because that's what we're there to do. Because it's a system that may not naturally be designed and built for you, but you need to find the people that will make it work for you and make things happen. In my case, as I said, my son had that advisor that said some people are not cut out for college. And I spoke to my son and said, some people aren't cut out to be advisors. You need to find your advisors, your faculty, somebody that knows your name and cares about your end in mind. I think that would be a good starting point for you. Your college advisor should be the starting point. But then next to that, I would go to faculty and go to the chair of your department to get that personalized solution for you. Because literally every single one of us needs something unique done. Every one of us needs something that we need to do to make the playing field even. Because the natural system is not designed for you and people that are like you and me. But there are people that can help you make it happen. I encourage every parent to get this book, Learning to Stay, because there are things about college. If you as a parent have never been to college, there are going to be things about college that you really don't have answers for your young person. But in this book, it was written with the scientific research, but you'll see the voices of students that are going through a process just like you. But my advice would be go to somebody that knows your name, and that person should be your advisor. If you don't have one of those, you can get one. And I think you can have a unique solution that's unique to you, given on your assets and the resources that are available to you. I don't know. Did that answer your question?
No, it was fine. And to our listeners, I just want to tell you, I'm going to second um, Daniel, Dr. Haupt, comment is get this book, Learning to Stay,
Mhm.
because the picture he just painted, the picture that was painted for you by me, and the answer he gave was a story that if it had not been for someone at Central State University, Mrs. Sampson, I mean, to this very day, $69, I fell $69 short from
Mm,
finishing my degree into my
mm,
fifth year. I
mm,
sat there in the registrar's office in front of
mm,
the whole student body and broke down and cried.
mm,
If it hadn't
mm.
been for the mindset of going in, I was a straight A student in my first semester, and I wanted to finish my last semester as a straight A student. I took a full 14-hour credit when I only needed 3 credits to graduate
Wow.
because I
Wow.
needed housing, so I had to stay on campus. But the little picture. Imagine this little black kid pulling out of his pockets trying to get as much change. I fell $69 short from getting a
Mm,
college
mm.
education. This is my fifth year. I had no place
Wow.
to go. My
Wow.
parents didn't have the $69. My friend said it. Miss Sampson found a a there's something in financial aid that awarded me a scholarship, an $800 scholarship. And
Wow.
to this very day, I won't do anything. And you can take this any way you want, call
Mm,
69. I won't carry 69 cents in my pocket. I'll throw it away.
mm,
I won't write
mm,
the number 69. For the
mm,
simple fact is a trigger to remind me of the
mm,
one obstacle was standing in my way. If it had
mm,
not been for someone like Dr. Haupt or
mm,
someone at a university that understood my situation, and when I say that I was a straight D student, I had
mm,
lost the closest person in my life violently
mm,
and
mm,
did not know where to go. That was my rock.
mm,
And so I had
mm.
nothing to stand on. If it had not been for my 8-year-old brother, Raymond Neal McLemore, telling me that Uncle Bill would not have liked me like this because I shut down. And that's the reason why it's so important to have these conversations of learning to
Mm.
stay.
Wow.
I would
Wow.
say you've motivated me to continue to tell my story on um, not to quit, but having staying power.
Hmm. Hmm.
Tell us, how do we get your book again? How do we contact you?
Well, Destiny Community Center.org. That's Destiny Community Center.org is how you can contact me for um, for accessing this book. To get a copy of this book if you're economically at risk, if you are an individual that is a practitioner who works with young people and you want to have this technology. It's not just a book, it's an actual system. It wasn't even just designed for you to read from cover to cover, but to tactically choose the topics of the chapters that speak to what you need. Remember, all one size doesn't fit all. This book was uniquely designed to help you to address that. And again, that's destinycommunitycenter.org. If you email me at Dr. Haupt, DRHAUPT, at Destiny Community Development Center, and you're a practitioner, I would love to get one of these books in your hands. And if you want to partner with me, many business people, organizations, they're the reason why I'm able to give these books to students as well as to practitioners to make it happen. This is a dream where all of us need to pause and ask ourselves, have we had the talk with our young people about college? It's not just about being smart. It's about getting a survival tool and an economy that was uniquely not designed for us. It is an asset that you can use to earn over $1 million more than people who do not have one. This is a great tool and a great opportunity for us to rethink how we're going to change and transform our society. And we can do that through a powerful education that's unique for all of us. Thank you, Kevin.
All right, and thank you. And to my listeners, I'm going to say, out of nearly 300 interviews that I've done and counting, I'm going to say this is one of those interviews that, if you are a high school counselor, a
Hmm.
middle school counselor, matter of fact, I would say in middle school, start having these
Yes.
conversations and
Yes.
preparing before you get to high school. Because
Hmm.
anything that you learn in high school from your freshman year is you're going to end up that same way your senior year, trying to find out where your why is. If that
Yeah.
why is not explained to you or expressed to you, and you have these
Hmm.
opportunities, you don't need to go into a situation blind.
Hmm.
The other thing is, let's talk to the finishers, because this is especially a conversation with historically Black
Hmm.
colleges that
Hmm.
PWIs do not have.
Hmm.
Does discipline impact success? And does success after graduating have to be returned back to the communities or poured
Hmm.
into other children? How do
Hmm.
you feel about that? Because most people graduate and says it's all about me. I think
Well,
I could be wrong.
Well, I have a couple of thoughts around that. One, we need to think about Harriet Tubman. Harriet didn't need to go back to the South. She was free from slavery. She went back and took the risk to free those that were in the same bondage that she was in. And she had a mission. It came from mission. Also, Frederick Douglass said, "Look, I prayed for 12 years that God would deliver me from this iniquitous state of slavery." And nothing, I heard nothing from him until I started praying with my feet. And I'm telling you right now, those of you that have that passport to the middle class, your undergraduate degree, you know what it will do for you. You know what it will not do for you. But you do know the asset that it represents to you and your family. I'm encouraging you to join the movement of learning to stay and help other people by praying with your feet. Pray for this new generation with your feet and getting somebody on a college campus. It's a statistical miracle if they're able to make it there. You take the group of kids in your neighborhood and you take them to your alma mater. You know, you should have a college day every year where you bring the young people in your neighborhood and pass on the dream of getting an asset that will help you to act on your why. And I hope that, what I shared with you today made some sense to all of you. But I got to tell you the reality that my father was a military hero. My mother was a mother in the community, and they raised us up as working class people, middle class Black people in Washington, D.C. And the same exact job that they had, my nieces and nephews could not get those same jobs with a high school diploma. It is a economic and a spiritual mandate that we position our young people to win with getting that basic passport. Will it do everything for you? No, it will not. but I tell you, it will give you an insurance in this economy that you have an opportunity to access. And with access, there comes responsibilities. Let's be like Frederick Douglass. Let's begin to pray with our feet and get our children and our children's children into a position with a solid education that's not a perfect degree, but a good degree that will allow them to build their box.
It's amazing because I'm around young people all the time, and there's many young people that are entering the workforce that are avoiding college because of
Mhm,
the
mhm,
return on investment. I
mhm,
mean, a lot
mhm,
of the big schools, I will tell
mhm,
you, graduating with six figures debt, when you're going to
mhm.
make a job that's going to pay you 30 or $40,000,
Yes,
whatever, it doesn't make
yeah,
good sense.
yeah.
Which is the reason why I'm a big proponent for HBCUs, for the simple
Mhm,
fact you get the same education. Matter of
mhm,
fact, the cultural experiences is a
mhm,
lot higher, and
mhm.
the personal
Yes.
attention to
Mhm,
detail and
mhm,
understanding you not only your current environment but the environment you came from is a
mhm,
lot higher.
mhm.
I want to ask you this question: Who's your favorite music artist?
Who is my favorite music artist?
I
I'm
caught
gonna
you
let
off
this.
guard, didn't
Yeah,
I?
you did. I love George Benson.
All right.
Masquerade, I think well, there's so many for us to pick from our culture, but I gotta say, George Benson's what he did with his music and your imagination. I'm a person that's an ideation. It took you places. I would say that would be my thought process. I would say if I had to pick a name, but we have so many to pick from.
All right.
Aretha
And
Franklin. Mhm,
the
mhm,
reason why I ask that is because, we talk about college education, we talk about the books, and most people are intimidated. One
mhm,
of the things that I remember about the experience on college campus
mhm,
was the Lakeside Ohio players, the George Bensons, the social life aspect to the
mhm,
college, which we haven't even talked about. We talked about trying to overcome the fears, going through the steps. And ladies and gentlemen, the reason why I didn't go through and list the top 10 things in this book that the steps you need to take is for two reasons. One, all right, the best way to keep a secret from someone is to put it in a book. All right,
mhm,
he is already telling you the secret sauce is already there. Open up the book,
mhm,
buy the book.
mhm,
He's even giving you the book. You have no excuse not to be successful. But I will
mhm,
tell you, the experience that you have on campus allows you to have a conversation to talk to people like Dr. Hop,
mhm,
because Dr. Hop is going to be an 18-year-old kid before doctor even became available. And he's going to be the guy sitting across from you in the college campus, sitting in the courtyard with you, walking you
mhm,
to and from your class, or maybe even helping your homework. You
mhm,
also got to remember the guy that owned Facebook dropped out of an
mhm,
Ivy League school.
mhm,
So I'm going to tell you, in order to say that you went to college and you dropped out, the first thing you had to say is they let you in first. You chose to get
mhm,
out. So I'm going to tell you, stay in school, keep learning. Um, if you were to deliver a takeaway from this conversation, what do you want our listeners to take away from this conversation we've had today?
mhm. Mark Twain said there are two important days in your life. The first one is the day that you were born. The second one is the day you discover why. I hope that you understand the asset of knowing your why. No matter what path that you've chosen, whether you're going to do education or not, there are so many of us that we did rise to the top without the advantage of a college education. It's a tool that you have available to you. Everybody, most of us can have access to it. But if you can tap into your why, like Madam J.C. Walker, who was the first self-made millionaire woman in America, she did it through the ingenuity of an idea to solve a problem. If you understand that your why has to be about God creating you, inventing you to solve a problem for society, when you discover that, the world is going to be open up to you, and the tools that you need for it in college is one of them.
All right. Are you available for public speaking
Yes, yes.
around the world? How do people get in touch with you again?
Well, again, you can contact me at the Destiny Community Center. I'm the Transformation Education Director there. All my information is there. There is a website where you can this danielhaupt.com where you can find information about how you can partner with me to help me to fulfill my mission and being a voice of destiny to this emerging generation. Again, thank you. I'm Kevin, with all the wit that your ingenuity brings to us, making this platform possible.
You know something, my good friend Les Brown says is, if you're the smartest person in the room, you need to get new friends. I am
Hmm.
so glad I don't have to find new friends because you are the smartest person in the room right now. You're having a conversation that I have daily with people. Matter of fact, I met someone a couple of weeks ago that made $2 million teaching people how to quit.
Mm,
Uh, and
mm.
now here we are telling people how to stay.
Wow.
Education is extremely important. Um, I do want to ask you one more personal question.
Hmm.
All right. Um, you have 6 children. Am I correct?
Yes, six young adult children.
All right. Because it's important for us to have these conversations that we can have with our children that they don't listen to.
Hmm.
I want to paint this picture. All 6 of your children have started their lives. They've all
Hmm.
graduated from college. They now have
Hmm.
kids, wives, jobs, careers of their own. You are no longer with us. And at the edge of the beach, 6 bottles that you have tossed 30 years prior to this conversation, they land on shore in front of each of your children. There's a note that you've given, and please read this note to each one of your children by name. When your oldest son opens to your youngest, what is that note going to say?
Mm. You know, a mutual friend of ours, Dr. Trina Ferguson, she has a philosophy that's made her very successful in business, and she asked the question of what hurts you, and I would want my what's on that paper to ask if you said a bottle for my oldest son to share with my younger son, I would
Children,
want
it's
that.
a personal note.
Say it again.
It's a personal note from you to your children. You're not here
Yeah,
anymore. It's your words to them.
yeah, I would say realize what hurts you and act on your why. You were here to solve a problem. That's what I want them to see. I want them to get in contact with what is moving you, the pain and the joy, and use that to act on your why. That's what I want them to know. Because again, a dream, a calling is personal, it's individual. What my sons are called to do and what my daughters are called to do could be totally different than what I'm called to do. But if they realize and they can read on that note that it's okay to be aware of what hurts you and to use that to act on your dream, I think that will be a blessing to me that would give them some kind of direction.
All right. I want to thank you, Dr. Haupt. The Germans pronounce your name Haupt,
Mhm.
Haupt, PhD.
It
Man
means
with
head in
all
German.
of these degrees. You are always welcome back. I hope you will come back to read a little bit about your book. And if you write another book, or if you even want to
Hmm.
bring one of your success stories on here so someone can actually
Hmm.
see a young man or a young woman has gone through the process or with their parents so we can talk it through because making decisions is scary.
Mm, mm,
Trying to predict the future um, is hard, and
mhm,
so we all go through. I just want to thank you, and to my guests, I want to tell you, I want to be honest with you. Success isn't random. It's built through discipline and structure,
mhm,
like this book.
mhm,
Read the book. It's coming free. You don't have to stay in college. You have to go to college to learn to stay.
mhm,
My grandfather always said, when you get to a point in life that you can help someone else out, it is your duty to do so.
mhm,
He said, reach one, teach one. And as
mhm,
our guest did today, we reach about 10,000 people. So if you're the one, you've been taught, and hopefully you'll catch this and move on and finish what you started. And so until next time, my good friend Daniel, I'm going to address you as your professional name, Daniel E. Hop, PhD. I want to thank you. You deserve that honor. You'll probably the next time I see you, you'll probably have 3 more degrees. I want to thank your children for allowing us to share this space. I want to thank your wife for allowing you to take this time away from home in order to share your gift. Because a lot of times people don't give back. We take, and once we have it, 'cause I know the feeling of, I get teased by my brother always saying that I'm the educated one, which I will tell you, it hurts. But I'm going to tell you, someone's got to be the one. And if you're that
Mm,
first generation
mm,
to make a difference, you don't have to be the last generation, but learn
mhm,
to stay.
mm.
So welcome. So I thank you for coming on the show and being our guest on Talking Wit, WIT, Kevin and Son. And until next time, we'll fade to black and we're
Mm.
out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel.
Thank you.
Yeah.